All right, let's talk about the science of self-worth. We're going to unpack that feeling of not being good enough. You know the one. Because it turns out it isn't a life sentence. In fact, science shows us that self-esteem is actually a skill you can build, and we're going to get into the evidence-backed strategies for how to do exactly that.
I mean, let's just start right there. Ever have that quiet, nagging voice in your head? The one whispering that you're not smart enough, not talented enough, just not enough? It's a feeling pretty much every single one of us has had. But here's the key. It doesn't have to be a permanent state of mind.
And that really brings us to the core idea we're digging into today. The research is so clear on this. You aren't just born with a certain amount of self-esteem. It's not fixed in stone. It's a dynamic skill, something that can be practiced, nurtured, and made stronger over your entire life.
So here's our game plan for how we're going to build that skill. First, we'll untangle a really surprising paradox that's at the heart of all this. Then we'll get into the practical stuff, rewiring that voice in your head, building momentum with small actions, choosing a supportive environment, and finally, learning to embrace this whole thing as a lifelong journey.
Okay, first up, the self-esteem paradox. Because really, before you can change anything, you have to understand it, right? So what in the world is self-esteem, and why does it feel so tricky to change? Let's build that foundation.
So, at its core, what are we talking about? Well, psychologists call it a global evaluation of one's own worth. But let's get into the science of it. That feeling is wired deep into our brain's dopamine reward system. When you accomplish something, your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine. It feels good, it motivates you. Low self-esteem, then, is kind of like having a faulty reward system that's not giving you credit where credit is due.
And this quote from the amazing therapist Carl Rogers, it absolutely nails the paradox. We think we have to criticize ourselves into getting better, but what the research shows is that the opposite is true. Real, lasting change doesn't start with judgment, it starts with just accepting where you are, right here, right now.
So let's see how that idea builds into real action. We're going to talk about how to rewire your inner dialogue, how to actually transform that inner critic into more of a supportive coach.
Step one is actually pretty simple. You just have to notice. You have to cultivate some self-awareness. This isn't about judging your thoughts. It's about observing them, almost like a scientist would. Start asking yourself these questions. What do I really believe about myself deep down? What situations always seem to trigger that inner critic? When did all this doubt even start? You know, journaling can be a huge help here, just to get those hidden patterns out on paper.
And check this out. This is a classic technique from cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's a real game changer. You take that big, sweeping negative thought, like I always fail, and you challenge it with cold, hard evidence. You become a detective for your own mind. Is it really, truly 100% true that you always fail? Probably not. The facts say otherwise. And listen, this isn't about fake positivity. It's about trading a distorted story for an accurate one.
This connects so perfectly to Carol Dweck's groundbreaking work on having a growth mindset. It's all about shifting your focus away from some fixed idea of talent and on to the process itself, the learning, the effort. Because you can't always control the final outcome, but you can always control your effort and how you choose to learn from things.
Okay, so we've been doing the work inside our heads. Now let's shift to taking action out in the world. This section is all about turning those reframed thoughts into actual accomplishments, but using kindness as the fuel.
The research, pioneered by experts like Kristen Neff, is unbelievably clear on this. Beating yourself up doesn't motivate you, it paralyzes you. It's self-compassion that actually builds resilience. Just think about it for a second. When a friend messes up, do you tear them down? No, you offer support. The goal is to start offering that same grace to yourself. This right here is the perfect blueprint for getting past that feeling of being overwhelmed. A huge goal, like improve my career, it's intimidating. But when you break it down into tiny, concrete steps, it becomes doable. Each little step is a small win. And every single win is another piece of evidence you're sending to your brain that says, see, I am capable.
Now for our fourth section, let's zoom out a little. How do our surroundings actually impact our sense of self? It's time to talk about curating your environment, because who and what you surround yourself with really truly matters.
This is such a simple question, but it's incredibly profound. So take a second and really think about it. Do a quick audit of your life. The people you spend the most time with, the accounts you follow on social media, the news you read. Are they lifting you up, or are they quietly draining your battery? We always hear this beautiful quote from Maya Angelou when we're talking about how we treat other people. But let's just flip it for a second. The environments you put yourself in, the people you choose to be around, they make you feel a certain way. And the most powerful part is that you have a say in curating that feeling. And that brings us to our final section, which really ties everything together. It's about learning to embrace the long game, because building genuine self-esteem is a lifelong practice, not some quick one-time fix.
This is all about reframing your own personal history. We're so often taught to see our struggles and setbacks as proof that we failed. But what if they're not? What if every single challenge you've ever overcome is just another chapter in your story that proves how resilient and strong you actually are?
You know, this isn't some new idea. This piece of ancient wisdom from the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius sums up our whole journey today perfectly. This isn't just about feeling good. It's about recognizing that the daily practice of managing your inner world is what directly creates the quality of your outer world.
And so that's where we'll end. Your story isn't finished. It is not set in stone. Every single day, you have the power to pick up the pen and write a new sentence, a new paragraph, a whole new chapter. The power to rewrite your narrative is in your hands. So the only question left is, what will your next sentence be?